Scottish Government signs off extradition of US rape suspect Nicholas Rossi. Now, this entire case has been absolutely mental. It has been absolutely insane. Basically, for the long and short of it is this guy has lived under multiple identities. He's faked his death and everything like that because he's wanted for a rape over in America. He's been living in Scotland, and whenever he got arrested over here, he pulled the whole mob boss thing where he's sitting there in a wheelchair with a breathing mask and all that. I'm too frail, I'm too weak, like, and all that stuff, so that he doesn't get set back. He's denied that he's Nicholas Rossi the entire time, but he has matching tattoos and body marks and everything, and basically the whole story's mental. The whole story is absolutely mental. The 35-year-old is wanted in connection with alleged offences, including rape in America. The Scottish Government has signed an extradition order for US rape suspect Nicholas Rossi. Nicholas Rossi is wanted in the United States in connection with alleged offences, including rape, and contested moves by authorities in America to have him flown over to face legal proceedings. Scottish ministers had the final decision over whether to extradite him. They made their decision and signed the order on September 28th, a response to a Freedom of Information request revealed. The Scottish Government said it would not be commenting further on the matter. The 35-year-old claims to be an Irish orphan called Arthur Knight, a victim of mistaken identity. His lawyer, Mungo Bovey KC, attempted to delay proceedings and asked for Rossi to be excused in August. Sheriff Norman McFadden suggested Rossi attended the court by video link voluntarily, but in an angry outburst, Rossi claimed he had been brought before the camera by physical force, and he called the sheriff a disgrace to justice. Rossi was arrested in the UK more than 2 years ago in connection with the alleged offences in the US. He was being treated for COVID-19 at the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in Glasgow when he was detained in December 2021. And I think the reason he got caught is while a nurse was treating him, she saw a tattoo on his arm that matched the description of the guy that they were looking for, and she went, I think it's him, and that's when the police get involved, and that's how he got caught. The extraordinary story of US fugitive found in Glasgow. The story came to Scotland in Christmas 2021 when a man was arrested at the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in Glasgow. He said he was Arthur Knight, but the American authorities were certain he was Nicholas Rossi, wanted for raping a 21-year-old woman in Utah in 2008 and other sex attacks. But last year, a judge in Edinburgh rejected his claims of mistaken identity, ruling that he is Rossi and extradition proceedings would follow. Over in Rhode Island, though, to those who know the man, he has at least one other name, Nicholas Alaverdian. Who is Nicholas Alaverdian? By all accounts, Alaverdian suffered a turbulent childhood. He lived with his family until he was a teenager before being moved around by the Department for Children, Youth and Families. Despite his troubled upbringing, he became a campaigner as an adult, fighting for child welfare reform, and claimed to have been abused while under the care of DCYF. He became known in Rhode Island, but people there didn't know he was a convicted sex offender who was facing rape charges. Alaverdian's story seemed to end in 2020 when his death was announced and tributes were led in Rhode Island State House, because the guy faked his own death. But plans for a memorial service were cancelled when police told a priest they believed Alaverdian may have faked his death. He's the devil's spawn. Alaverdian was 8 years old, growing up in Cranston, Rhode Island, when he was adopted by his mum's new husband, Engelbert Humperdinck impersonator David Rossi. Jesus, that's a niche one to be in. The young Nicholas then began using Rossi as his surname. Speaking in Scotland Tonight at his home, David does not speak highly of his adopted son, describing him as the devil's spawn. He was in trouble, he hit his mother, hit his grandmother, stole, he was trouble at school, he wanted everything his own way. He's a very smart guy, but overly smart and manipulative. Very manipulative. When Alaverdian's death was announced, David remained unmoved. I knew it was bull, he wasn't dead. Does he have a message for his adopted son? Smarten up, you're still young, do the right thing. Change the world. Representative Ray Hull was the politician who supported Alaverdian's campaign for child welfare reforms. He speaks fondly of the boy he knew and said he was disappointed by the lies he was told. He was a young individual with some tenacity that wanted to change the world, Rep Hull recalls. You could really latch on to him. That's his way. When people ask how you get so fooled, it's because there are people out there that you want to gravitate to that actually want to change the world. Alaverdian phoned Rep Hall to tell him he was dying before he later got a call from his wife. I didn't know he was married to say that he was not doing well. Was he capable of faking his death? Anybody's capable of doing anything. In my profession, nothing phases me because I've seen people at their worst. I've seen some people at their best, but it's on him now. At the same time, Alaverdian was openly advocating against abuse. He sexually assaulted a young woman in Ohio in 2008. The woman, known only as Mary, said that they first met over a nice lunch in a canteen at Sinclair Community College in Dayton, Ohio. He then said, "Can I walk you to your class?" And when me and him started walking into the basement, he started attacking me, Mary says. He told me he was sorry and couldn't resist, said I was so pretty. I went to my maths class and then I reported what happened to the police. The attack happened in January 2008 and he was sentenced 5 months later. He received a suspended jail sentence and was ordered to carry out community service. He made a false blog to try and get a retrial, but an investigator threw it out immediately, says Mary. Brian Coogan is a former state representative who nearly adopted Nicholas. He was very attentive, an overachiever, very pleasant, polite, an all-American little boy, recalls Coogan. He kept asking me to adopt him because he didn't have any family and he was in a group children's care home. Alaverdian would claim he was abused in care, but Coogan doesn't buy it. His cuts and bruises were all self-inflicted, he says. I couldn't adopt him. Coogan recalls Nick being shipped to Florida and not heard of until he was 18. He comes right back to Rhode Island, starts suing the state and federal court, filing motions, doing all sorts of crazy stuff. The last time they spoke, Alaverdian called to say he had just 2 weeks to live. He said, I have lymphoma, I have cancer. I said, really, cockroaches don't die. I said, you're not dying, you're a sexual predator and you're trying to escape. When I heard he'd been found, I said, no shit. I had goosebumps, I was so excited and calling all the people I could think of. He's a con artist, I call him a jellyfish because you can't pick him up, there's no spine to it, but it's got long tentacles and can sting you. And there you are, that's the end of it. The story has gone just mental, by the way, that it turns out that this guy, there he is there, looking like a fucking Babadook. He's got no oxygen mask or anything like that on there. But yeah, it turns out that this guy's just been like a master manipulator. He's married, he's got a wife here. And his wife is like absolutely drank the Kool-Aid. Like she's like, no, it's not him. His name is Arthur Knight and all that stuff, and like it's his wife, so like, and she loves him, so like I can kind of get that. But I mean, goddamn, she never saw anything. She's still defending him and she's still backing him up. But there's so much stuff that points that it's him. For example, he's got the exact matching tattoos. Now the tattoo was how he get caught. A nurse seen it and thought, because apparently there was intelligence that he might have been hiding in Scotland, and it turns out that he was. And he's still here, but, you know, looks like he's not going to be in Scotland for much longer, though he's going to get sent back to America. But basically, this is going to end up on Netflix. This is going to be one of those documentaries that ends up on Netflix. I'm calling it right now. I might do my own standalone video once stuff that starts to come out. I've got a feeling that a lot's going to come out when he gets sent back over to America and he actually has to stand trial. But again, we'll just wait and see how this goes.